We are told that money is a ladder, a way to climb out of the struggle and into the light of security. But what if the ladder is an optical illusion? What if the very act of reaching for the next rung is what keeps you grounded in the dirt? Adam Smith saw this trap coming 250 years ago. Think about the objects you surround yourself with every single day. Adam Smith observed that humans have a peculiar tendency to value the representation of wealth far more than the actual utility of the object itself. We are easily dazzled by the shine of novelty, forgetting that the primary purpose of any tool is to serve our needs, not to signal our status to strangers who do not truly care about our well-being. We become collectors of symbols while our actual freedom evaporates. Every time we upgrade our lifestyle to match our rising income, we are simply building a more expensive cage for our own souls. This obsession with what Smith called trinkets of frivolous utility creates a cycle of endless desire that can never be fully satisfied. You work longer hours to buy a watch that tells the same time as a cheaper one, or a car that sits in the same traffic as a used model. The trap is not in the object itself, but in the belief that the object will somehow transform your internal reality. We mistake the accumulation of stuff for the growth of our character. This fundamental error is the precise reason why so many people feel broke despite earning what should be a very comfortable and sustainable living. Smith noted that the pursuit of these vanities often leaves a person in a state of perpetual anxiety, always looking at what others possess. We are conditioned to believe that more is always better, but in reality, more usually means more maintenance, more debt, and more stress. When you buy something you cannot afford to impress people you do not like, you are participating in a grand theatrical performance where the only victim is your bank account. It is a psychological game designed to keep the wheels of industry turning at your own personal expense while you sacrifice your actual peace. Today, the phenomenon of ruinous prosperity is amplified 1,000,000 times by the digital world we inhabit. We are constantly bombarded with images of a life that is mathematically impossible for most to maintain. This constant comparison creates a sense of relative poverty, even when absolute wealth is increasing. We are trapped by the expectation that our lives must look like a curated advertisement, leading us to sacrifice our actual reality for a fleeting digital image. Understanding the difference between value and price is the first step toward escaping this invisible and very sophisticated modern prison. Value is what a thing does for your life, while price is what you must give up to obtain it. If the price of an object is your peace of mind or your time with your family, then the price is too high, regardless of what the tag says. Smith argued that true wealth is the command of labor, meaning the ability to buy other people's time so you can reclaim your own. Most people do the exact opposite. They sell their future time to buy things that lose value immediately. They focus on the symbols of success while losing sight of the systems that actually generate long-term freedom. The illusion of money is designed to keep you focused on the immediate reward while ignoring the long-term cost of your choices. It is a distraction from the reality of how wealth is actually built and maintained over generations. When we focus on the symbols, we become experts in spending and amateurs in retaining. This is how the system ensures that the working class remains the working class, regardless of how much their hourly wage increases over time. To break free, one must develop a cold, analytical view of their own desires and the forces that shape them every single day. You must ask yourself if you are choosing your purchases or if your purchases are being chosen for you by a culture of excess. Adam Smith was not an enemy of commerce, but he was a champion of wisdom. He knew that a society obsessed with the shine of gold would eventually lose its way. By recognizing the illusion for what it is, you regain the power to define your own success. It is about shifting from a passive participant to an active strategist who understands the rules of the game better than the house does. ensuring that your wealth finally starts working for you instead of against you. The market is often described as a force of nature, guided by an invisible hand that coordinates the actions of millions. Adam Smith believed that when we act in our own self-interest, we inadvertently help society. However, there is a darker side to this mechanism. The same hand that creates efficiency also creates a powerful pressure to conform to market expectations. We are nudged and prodded to participate in a game of consumption that benefits the collective economy, but can absolutely destroy the individual who does not have a clear plan for their own financial independence. This invisible leash is made of credit cards, financing plans, and the social pressure to keep up with the latest trends. We think we are making independent choices, but our desires are often architected by those who profit from our dissatisfaction. The market does not want you to be content. It wants you to be a hungry ghost, always reaching for the next thing. When you are content with what you have, you are useless to the consumer machine. Therefore, the system is designed to manufacture discontent and sell it back to you in the form of a solution that never quite works. The genius of the illusion is that it makes the leash feel comfortable until you try to run in a different direction. You feel free as long as you are moving toward the next purchase, but the moment you try to stop and save, the weight of your obligations becomes apparent. We have traded the physical chains of the past for the psychological chains of the modern era. We are free to choose which brand we serve, but we are rarely free to stop serving altogether. This is the mechanism of control that keeps the wheels of the economy turning at the expense of your liberty. To understand how you are being trapped, you must look at the incentives of the people selling you the dream of wealth. They do not want you to be financially independent. They want you to be a repeat customer who is dependent on their goods. The more you rely on the market for your sense of self, the more vulnerable you become. Adam Smith warned that a man who has no time for himself is little more than a machine. Yet, most of us spend our most productive years functioning exactly like machines, producing output for others while consuming the waste of the system. The invisible hand can guide you to prosperity, or it can guide you into a pit of perpetual debt if you are not careful. It requires a high level of vigilance to distinguish between a genuine opportunity and a clever trap. The trap is usually baited with the promise of status or the fear of missing out. If you can learn to ignore these signals, you can start to use the market for your own benefit rather than being used by it. At what point did your needs become wants that you simply cannot afford to lose? Let us discuss in the comments if you feel the market serves you. Money is just a medium of exchange, a tool for moving value from one place to another. When we treat it as an end in itself, we lose the ability to use it effectively. We become like the person who spends all their time sharpening a sword but never actually goes into battle. We are so busy preparing to live that we forget to actually live. This is the ultimate poverty, a life full of potential, but devoid of actual substance. Once you learn to appreciate the silence of financial security, the noise of the market loses its power over your daily decisions and your future. The most insidious form of poverty is the one that hides behind a six-figure salary and a luxury lifestyle. Adam Smith described a character called the poor man's son, whom heaven in its anger has visited with ambition. This young man works himself to the bone to acquire the comforts of the rich, only to find at the end of his life that he has sacrificed everything for things that do not matter. This is the high-income poverty trap. It is a state where you have plenty of cash flow, but zero actual wealth because every dollar is already spoken for by your lifestyle. In our modern world, this trap is more common than ever before. We see professionals earning massive incomes who are living paycheck to paycheck because their house, their cars, and their social obligations consume every cent they make. They are rich on paper, but poor in reality because they have no margin for error. Smith understood that true wealth is not about how much you make, but how much you keep and how much freedom that money provides. If your income goes up and your stress goes up with it, you are not winning the game of life. You are losing it. Lifestyle creep is the silent killer of financial independence. It is the process where your standard of living rises to meet your income, ensuring that you never actually get ahead. You get a raise and suddenly your perfectly fine apartment feels too small, or your reliable car feels too old. You are trapped by your own expectations. The illusion of money makes you believe that these upgrades are signs of success, but in reality, they are just additional anchors, keeping you tied to your job. You are trading your future freedom for a slightly more comfortable present. Smith pointed out that the desire for luxury is often driven by a need for the admiration of others. We want to be the person that others look up to, and we use money as the scorecard for that competition. However, this is a race with no finish line. If your happiness depends on being at the top of the social ladder, you are condemning yourself to a life of perpetual insecurity. You're letting the opinions of people you might not even like dictate how you spend your life, energy, and your limited time on this planet, which is a tragedy of the highest order. The trap is also reinforced by the way our society defines success. We are taught to admire the big spenders rather than the big savers. This cultural bias makes it very difficult to choose a different path. It takes a massive amount of courage to live below your means when everyone around you is living beyond theirs. But that is the only way to escape the illusion. You have to be willing to look unsuccessful to the world so that you can be truly successful in your own life. Wealth is what you do not see. It is the investments you do not sell, and the status you do not flaunt. Adam Smith, EA's philosophy suggests that the most rational way to live is to secure your basic needs and then focus on the cultivation of your mind and your relationships. Everything beyond that is just noise. The high-income poverty trap is built on the belief that noise is music. Once you decouple your self-worth from your spending habits, you realize that you are enough without the symbols of success. The illusion of money loses its grip when you value your time more than your toys. This is the true meaning of being wealthy, and it is a state available to anyone willing to see reality. The psychological cost of maintaining a facade of wealth is immense. The constant pressure to perform can lead to burnout and a deep sense of emptiness. Smith believed that our moral sentiments are affected by our economic status. When we are trapped in the high-income poverty cycle, we become more selfish because we are constantly in survival mode. Breaking this cycle is the only way to reclaim your capacity for empathy and genuine connection. By understanding the psychological drivers behind our spending, we can start to dismantle the trap and find a more authentic way of living. Adam Smith's most profound insight was that we do not simply want to be wealthy, we want to be loved and admired. He argued that we believe wealth is the easiest way to gain the sympathy of our fellow humans. This is the root of the trap. We are social animals, and we fear being invisible more than we fear being poor. The illusion of money leverages this deep-seated fear to keep us consuming. We believe that if we have the right things, we will finally belong. But Smith warned that the admiration we get for our wealth is a hollow substitute for the respect we get for our character. People might admire your car, but they do not necessarily admire you. In fact, they might actually resent you for it. The social status we buy is temporary and fragile. It depends entirely on our ability to keep spending. The moment the money stops, the admiration vanishes. This creates a state of constant anxiety where we are forced to keep up the appearance of wealth even when it is destroying our financial health. If this deep dive is opening your eyes, consider subscribing. We are very close to 100,000 subscribers, and I count on your help to reach that goal this year. Social media has acted as a massive accelerant for this psychological phenomenon. We are now comparing our lives to the highlights of thousands of others, creating a distorted sense of what is normal. This digital panopticon makes the illusion of money feel more real than ever. We spend money on experiences not for the experience itself, but for the photo that proves we were there. We are trading the reality of our lives for a digital ghost, all in the pursuit of social validation. The danger is that this makes you a target for those who want to exploit your vanity for their own profit. The marketing industry is built on identifying your insecurities and offering a product to fix them. They tell you that you are not quite enough, but you could be if you just bought this one thing. It is a form of captivity where your desires are being programmed by others. Smith argued that the wise man seeks to be praiseworthy, not just praised. This means finding value in your own actions and your own integrity, rather than in the eyes of the crowd. When you stop seeking validation through your spending, you reclaim your power and can finally make decisions that serve your true purpose. True freedom is the ability to say no to the things that do not serve your highest goals. Smith believed that the pursuit of wealth can actually make us less happy if it leads us away from virtue and calm. The most contented people are those who have enough to be comfortable and then focus on their own growth. The illusion of money tells us the opposite, that more is always the answer, but more often brings more problems. By shifting your focus from being praised to being worthy of praise, you exit the status race and enter a world of genuine peace and lasting satisfaction. Breaking the cycle of social comparison is the most important financial skill you can ever learn. If you can be happy with a simple life, you are effectively invincible. The market cannot touch you, and the advertisers have no power over you. You are free to pursue the things that actually matter, like deep relationships and personal mastery. This is the wisdom that Adam Smith wanted us to understand. By seeing through the social trap, you become the master of your own destiny, rather than a pawn in a game designed to keep you perpetually hungry for things that cannot truly satisfy. We are entering a new era where the concept of ownership is being systematically dismantled. We are being pushed toward a subscription-based economy where we own nothing and rent everything. Adam Smith warned about the dangers of a rent-seeking economy where a small group of people extracts value from everyone else without producing anything new. This shift is the ultimate evolution of the illusion of money. It makes it easier than ever to live a lifestyle you cannot afford because the monthly payments are kept low. But when you stop paying, everything you thought was yours vanishes. This death of ownership is sold to us as a convenience, but ownership is the bedrock of independence. When you own your tools and your home, you have a level of leverage that no renter can ever achieve. By giving up ownership, we are giving up our power. We are becoming more dependent on the large corporations that control the platforms we use. This is a trap that Smith would have recognized immediately as a modern form of feudalism. The illusion is that you are getting more for less, but the reality is that you are giving up your long-term security for short-term and fleeting ease. Every subscription is a tiny leak in your financial bucket. Over time, these leaks can drain your wealth and leave you with nothing to show for years of hard work. We must be vigilant about what we allow to become a permanent expense. The goal of the system is to turn your income into a recurring revenue stream for someone else. Breaking the trap requires a commitment to owning assets that appreciate in value rather than just renting temporary status. It is about claiming a piece of the world for yourself so that you're no longer at the mercy of the landlords of the digital age. Smith believed that capital is the result of saving. It is the surplus that allows you to invest in the future. In a world where ownership is dying, saving becomes an act of rebellion. Without ownership, you are always vulnerable. The struggle of the modern era is to resist the temptation to rent your life, and instead do the hard work of building a base of actual property. When we lose the ability to own, we lose a part of our agency. We become passive consumers rather than active creators, which is exactly what the architects of the modern economic system want us to be. The modern economy is designed to keep you in a state of high-velocity spending. The faster your money moves out of your pocket, the better the economy looks on paper. But for you, high-velocity spending is the path to ruin. You want your money to slow down and grow. You want to be the one receiving the rent, not the one paying it. This requires a fundamental shift in how you view every dollar. It is not just currency, it is a potential seed for your future freedom. If you treat your money with respect, it will eventually grant you the power to walk away from the system. The trap of renting your life is deep, but it is not inescapable. It starts with a simple refusal to participate in the death of ownership. Seek to own your home, your tools, and your time. Avoid the lure of the subscription lifestyle whenever possible. Build a life based on substance rather than symbols. Adam Smith's lessons provide the map to navigate the complexities of human desire. By following that map, you can find your way out of the illusion and into a life of genuine wealth. True success is not about what you can pay for monthly. It is about what you actually own. Ownership gives you the freedom to think for yourself and act according to your own values. When you own your life, you are no longer a servant to the market's whims. You become a participant who chooses when and how to engage. This is the ultimate goal of Adam Smith's philosophy, a society of independent individuals who use the market to improve their lives, not a society of debt-burdened renters who are used by the market to fuel its own growth. Choose to be an owner of your destiny and break the cycle of perpetual rent that keeps the world in a state of modern poverty. Breaking the Adam Smithian trap requires a radical shift in perspective that most people are simply unwilling to make. You have to be comfortable being the odd one out. You have to be willing to prioritize your future self over your current desires. This is the essence of what Smith called self-command. It is the ability to govern your own impulses and act according to a higher principle. Most of us are governed by our appetites and our fears, which makes us easy to control. To be free, you must become the governor of your own mind and your own money at all times. The first step is to redefine what wealth means to you personally. If you define it as having more than your neighbor, you will never be wealthy. But if you define it as having enough to live your life on your own terms, you can achieve it much faster than you think. Wealth is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That level of freedom does not require millions of dollars. It just requires a lack of debt and a modest set of needs. This is the secret that the consumer machine does not want you to know because it makes you independent. We must also learn to appreciate the beauty of utility over the vanity of status. A well-made tool that lasts a lifetime is infinitely more valuable than a trendy gadget that will be obsolete in 2 years. When you buy for quality and longevity, you are opting out of the waste cycle. You are showing respect for your own labor. Smith believed that the prudent man is always supported by his own industry and his own frugality. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional with the life force you trade for money every single day that you go to work. Another key to breaking the trap is to invest in your own human capital. Your skills, your knowledge, and your character are the only assets that cannot be taken away from you. In a world of illusions, your ability to provide real value to others is the only true currency. Adam Smith was a scholar because he understood that the wealth of a person is built on the productive capacity of the mind. Focus on becoming more capable, and the money will follow as a natural byproduct of your excellence. This is a far more reliable path than chasing the latest trends or financial bubbles. The trap also depends on your isolation. When we are alone, we are more susceptible to the pressures of marketing. But when we are part of a community that values substance over show, we find it much easier to stay on the path. Surround yourself with people who are also trying to escape the illusion. Share your goals and your successes. There is strength in numbers. A culture of thrift and wisdom is much harder to break than an individual who is trying to do it all on their own against a world of constant temptation and sophisticated advertisements designed to break you. Stop looking for shortcuts and get-rich-quick schemes. These are just another part of the illusion, designed to part you from your hard-earned money. Real wealth is built slowly through the steady accumulation of assets and the consistent application of sound principles. It is not exciting, and it will not make for a great social media post, but it works. Smith's work was based on observing reality as it is. If you follow the reality of compound interest and disciplined spending, you will eventually reach a point of total financial invincibility and true peace of mind. Finally, you must learn to be grateful for what you already have. Gratitude is the antidote to the manufactured discontent that fuels the illusion of money. When you are truly grateful, you realize that you already possess the most important things in life. This realization makes you immune to the charms of the advertisers. You are no longer a hungry ghost. You are a whole human being. This is the ultimate escape from the trap that Smith warned us about. By seeing through the illusion, you stop being a victim of the system and start being a master of your own destiny. Adam Smith knew that money was a beautiful servant, but a cruel master. The illusion only works if you keep your eyes on the gold and off the clock. If you've spent your life chasing the symbol, it's time to start chasing the substance. But the illusion of money is only half the story. The system that prints it is the other. To understand how this trap was engineered at the highest levels of power, you need to see our investigation into the architects of the currency itself. Click the video on your screen now to watch The Federal Reserve, the most successful fraud in human history, where we pull back the curtain on how Smith's warnings evolved into a global reality. Don't just learn how to survive the trap, learn how it was built and how the world really works.